Hi, welcome to a beautiful day here in Thailand and welcome to TNT. Now, I use this yellow duck, well, to float around my pool and have a nice relaxing time. But they did become a bit of a political symbol during the protests in Thailand back in 2020 and 2021. And in fact, has got one particular person in a lot of trouble, ending up with a 2-year prison sentence. That story and a whole lot more coming up in today's TNT. Thursday's TNT, and just like that, the week's almost gone, and only one more day to go before we do our live program on Saturday. That's Nick and I, and we'll all be in our brand new TNT shirts. And then on Sunday, we've got our second edition of Grumpy Old Men, and this week again with Steve. So thank you for all the great comments on that. Some of you didn't like it, but a lot of you did. So if you haven't seen it, you can find it on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to the channel. And we go to this story from yesterday. You remember these pictures. This one, you might remember this one. And this, of course, was the story about the Chinese girls coming to Thailand. And what they do for their fun is they go into a shop which sells school uniforms and they buy a Thai school uniform. But of course, there's always the fun police. See what's happened here. And tourists warned about wearing school uniforms. This being reported by the BangkokPost.com. Let's see what's happening. Being a non-student and wearing a school uniform is okay, it turns out. Oh, that's the good news. As long as it doesn't have the initials of a real school on it. Oh. But if someone wearing a real uniform with a real school name on it ends up doing something that could stain the reputation of the real school, they're in for real trouble. Tourists and probably most Thai people might not be aware of it, but there's a Student Uniform Act. They can't come up with a Cannabis Act, but they can come up with a Student Uniform Act. Break it, and you can be fined. If tourists wear uniforms with school initials and misbehave, the management of the schools concerned have the right to file a legal complaint, and Thais don't mind the odd bit of libel suit. And a lawyer said that people who were not students but wore uniforms with school initials were considered as violating the School Uniform Act for being imposters and could be fined up to 1,000 baht. If tourists' student uniforms show only their names, that would not be an offence. So laying down the law when it comes to dressing up and having a little bit of fun. The uniform craze among Chinese people took off when the Thai teen romantic comedy First Love, also known as A Little Thing Called Love, became popular in China. So that explains everything. It was, at the end of the day, media driven. We go on to our next story today, and also from the Bangkok Post reporting that BitKub is to invest in an AI startup, ThaiGPT. Sounds like a bit of jumping on the bandwagon. BitKub, Thailand's leading cryptocurrency exchange, will invest in the newly established ThaiGPT as part of the company's strategy to expand the business to the research and development of artificial intelligence. Just to explain that last year BitKub came to a lot of attention when the Bitcoin price dropped, and the people who invested in BitKub weren't able to withdraw their money. A lot of excuses were made, a lot of people lost a lot of money, but BitKub seems that they're up and going again. And the founder and chairman of BitKub Capital Group Holdings announced that the joint investment will see BitKub invest in ThaiGPT together with partners to co-build a platform. So given that Chat GPT has spent billions of US dollars over a period of about 10 years, they've got a little bit of catching up to do. BitKub will be an early use case solution. And down the bottom there, ThaiGPT aims to be an AI research and development company, especially in the fields of large language models and generative AI. The firm aims to cash in on the popularity of the open AI platform ChatGPT. And just in case you didn't know, ChatGPT doesn't only work in English, it actually works in other languages, including Thai. So there it is, just working out in Thai in sort of real time. So if you thought that this might be just a bit of a cash grab, cashing in on the popularity of ChatGPT, you're probably right. So before you invest any money in anything in Thailand, I would do an awful lot of homework. But you know that, don't you? So let's go to our next story now, and yes, it's the Bangkok Post again. The headline says that Myanmar Junta slams UN human rights chief's irrelevant comments. By the way, you can read any of these articles, of course, in the Bangkok Post at bangkokpost.com. And the story goes on to say that Myanmar's junta has slammed the UN human rights chief for making irrelevant remarks after he said the military may have committed war crimes as it struggles to crush resistance to its rule. 2 years after the military ousted Aung San Suu Kyi's elected government, the human rights situation in Myanmar is a festering catastrophe. Well, festering catastrophe doesn't even start to describe the situation in Myanmar at the moment. Stretched thin on the ground, the military was relying increasingly on air power and artillery to fight widespread opposition, with more than 300 airstrikes in the last year, according to the UN, including on schools and hospitals. Now, these strikes have been widely reported in a number of different publications and reported by NGOs who are on the spot. The junta foreign ministry said the report was based on sweeping allegations against the government and its security forces. Well, maybe sweeping allegations are hurting the junta, who have so far killed more than 3,000 of their own people. Swathes of the country are in turmoil. Killings of low-level junta officials and anti-coup fighters take place almost daily, according to this report, with details murky and reprisals often following quickly. The junta claims more than 5,000 civilians have been killed by terrorist groups since the coup. Completely unfounded and unverified comment there. Diplomatic efforts to resolve the bloody impasse led by the UN and the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, that of course is ASEAN, the regional bloc, have made little headway, with the generals refusing to engage with opponents. Well, if they want to respond to the UN's allegations, perhaps they should front up to the UN or even up to an ASEAN meeting to explain their situation. The UN Security Council passed its first resolution on the situation in Myanmar in December. Now, that's a bit pathetic too. That's almost 2 years after the coup. The Security Council permanent members China and Russia abstained, opting not to wield votes following amendments to the wording, and India, which has close ties with the junta, also abstained, and more than 3,000 people have been killed in the military crackdown on dissent, according to the local monitoring group. That story there reported in the bangkokpost.com. Thanks for joining us on our Thursday program. Big thanks to 5 Star Marine as well. They've been a great supporter of the program. If you are coming to the Southern Island, you'd like to go out on a private tour to some of the beautiful islands and beaches off the coast of Phuket, please get in contact with 5 Star Marine. There is a link in the description under this video. Thursday is TNT, and once a month we get to find out what's happening with websites around the world, which websites are going up, which websites are going down. And of course we have a particular interest in which websites in Thailand are doing better or worse, and this is from a website called similarweb.com. Similarweb.com. You don't need me to write that out for you. And so I just put together the website's numbers for the last year. Pretty much approximates the number of clicks that website received. And interestingly, most of the websites, the news websites in Thailand, went down last month. I think that's partly because February the news cycle wasn't quite as interesting, and in January we had that crazy news cycle. It's particularly interesting to English-speaking people and foreigners coming to Thailand when the government briefly reimposed presenting COVID certificates for arrivals in Thailand, and that did get a lot of interest. But here we go. This is showing which websites are doing better or worse. So the Bangkok Post still up there on top, as they've been pretty much for the past 10 years. The Tiger there in the second place. Of course, their publication includes Thai and English language. ASEAN Now, which is just in English, 1.4 million. Coconuts.co, 1.2 million. They were steady. They didn't actually drop numbers. Pattaya News, Nation Thailand, the Phuket News and the Pattaya Mail, they all dropped numbers during February. But Khao English, who I thought had sort of closed down about 18 months ago, but they seem to be starting to publish numbers on their website again. Well, they went up. so their publication or their click numbers went up. Thai PBS World did drop a lot, actually, as did Nation Thailand, and Hua Hin Today, 75,000. They're steady, but of course a small boutique publication, and they do a great job. Good morning to Jonathan Fairfield. So there we got some of those numbers, and you can find out any website's numbers on similarweb.com. And if you want to find out how people's YouTube channels are going, you can also find that out by going to socialblade.com. Social Blade, including Tim Newton today. Let's go to our next story. Now, this is from The Nation. We will get to the yellow duck story in just a moment. But the Nation Thailand.com is reporting that Laos is disappearing, border residents on front line of Thailand's haze crisis, and Nakhon Phanom is cracking down on locals burning garbage and vegetation outdoors as the northeast city on the banks of the Mekong chokes under heavy smog that descended on Tuesday. So getting stuck into the locals burning their garbage and once again seeming to avoid the big picture. So the levels of PM 2.5 surged to 160 micrograms, noting that the upper safe level is 50. And we move forward on that story. It says that farmers and householders burning refuse in Laos and Upper Thailand are thought to be fueling the haze crisis, with hundreds of hotspots in rural areas detected by satellites. Haze levels in Bangkok, Chiang Mai across the country have soared in the past few days, triggering warnings from authorities. I think they're warning the wrong people. Here is a quick look at the fire maps and published by NASA, and you can see Southeast Asia is just lit up like a Christmas tree. Just zooming in, and there we've got Nakhon Phanom, which that story is about, and I've just put a little N there exactly where Nakhon Phanom is, and you can see with those easterly winds exactly what is causing the horrendous haze and smoke in that particular area. It's all blowing over from Laos. So they need to be getting their fire trucks going across the Mekong River and putting some of those farm fires out, because that's exactly what's causing, well, as you can see on that map, 99% of the problem. To our main story today, and if you want to know what this yellow duck story is all about, and absolutely no shortage of coverage on this story today, if you type in Thailand news into Google, the top 5 stories are all about the yellow ducks. What's going on? I just chose one randomly. This is from CNA, which is Channel News Asia out of Singapore. Thai man jailed for selling calendars with yellow ducks to mock king. And the CNA story says that a Thai man was sentenced to 2 years in prison on Tuesday for selling calendars featuring satirical cartoons of yellow ducks that a court said mocked the country's monarchy. And the Thai Lawyers for Human Rights said that the Bangkok Criminal Court ruled that the calendar for 2021 contained pictures of yellow ducks in poses resembling and ridiculing Thailand's king, diminishing his reputation. And the legal aid group said the 26-year-old defendant, whom it identified by the nickname Ton Mai, his full name has been published, had his sentence reduced to 2 years because he cooperated with the court. So, of course, the next question is, what is the significance of these yellow ducks? And my yellow duck is exactly the same as these yellow ducks, and my use of my yellow duck in the pool is in no way referencing anything to do with the Thai monarchy in any way whatsoever. But these yellow ducks were used prominently by the protesters back in 2020 and 2021 when they were out on the streets, mostly demanding for the resignation of the Thai Prime Minister and also changes to the constitution to codify the Thai monarchy in the Thai constitution. And even back then, the Bangkok Post, you can see the story there published in 2020, said the yellow ducks became a protest symbol by accident. And the yellow ducks there used as actually shields against the water cannons that the police and riot police were using, and they were spraying water laced with chemical irritants on the protesters, and they were using these yellow ducks as some form of defence. And that story went on to say, but since the redeployment as protection from tear gas and chemical laced water fired from cannons, Demonstrators say the ducks have helped the pro-democracy movement win the PR war with authorities. To put it simply, they said, they're the guards of the people who use peaceful ways in protesting. We have cute ducks to fight against fully armed police, and it shows that we're better, according to a protester. So that's the story of the yellow ducks, and one man that's made a whole calendar of yellow ducks has got himself into a lot of hot water and ended up with a 2-year sentence. Will common sense prevail in that particular situation? We'll certainly keep an eye on it and report to you. You're watching the TNT program as we whip around all the main publications around Thailand, and let's go now to the PhuketExpress.com, and a Swedish man found dead in a tent on beach in Krabi, and the body of a 60-year-old Swedish man was found inside the tent. And the Ao Nang police told the Phuket Express that the Swedish man died at least 2 days before his body was found. Empty beer bottles and cans were found inside and outside the tent. Local residents told the Ao Nang police that the Swedish man stayed in the tent alone since March the 3rd. He was last seen on March the 5th. And it was unclear why the man was living in a tent on a Krabi beach, and his visa status was not immediately made known. So another one of these situations where a foreigner seems to have just fallen between the cracks and has faded away. This case in a tent in Krabi, and not to diminish the situation or the sadness of his family or friends, but if you are going to spend your last days on a Krabi beach in a tent, it's probably not a bad way to go. Hope you have a great Thursday ahead. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Big thanks to 5 Star Marine and of course to you, and we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.